I'm going to talk to you today about the Chesapeake Bay and its role as a battleground in 3 different wars involving the United States of America. The first was the Revolutionary War, and in that instance, there was a battle between a French armada and a British armada over who would control the Hampton Roads area. The British attempting to cease our revolutionary activities, of course, and the French, as our allies, were attempting to get the British to back out. Well, the outcome of that particular battle was that the British went on to Yorktown, where they were defeated, Yorktown being not very far from the bay, and that was the end of the war when Cornwallis surrendered and signed the documents of surrender. The second time the Bay has had a feature in a battle movie was the War of 1812. The British had probably the largest navy at the time and were beginning to pull out their land forces from Europe, having defeated Napoleon. And the Americans had no real standing army of any size and did not have much of a naval force. The British came up the bay in 1813 and started a blockade of the bay. They also began a campaign of harassment of people living around the bay, to the point that those people were, in some cases, very much harmed by this, very much threatened by this. They lost their source of income because it was from fishing and from other similar activities. The British would take their boats and burn them to the gunwales, to the waterline. And so it was a very difficult time for people who were really just one generation away from the American Revolution. And indeed, that fact played into impressment, as we've heard in another presentation by one of our classmates. As the British were leaving, they began to attempt to acquire provisions for the return trip to England. And in those days, absent refrigeration, obviously, you provisioned a large ship with livestock that you kept going until you needed it for dinner. They went to neighboring farms and offered to pay for livestock, and in all cases, or most, they were apparently denied the transaction, so they took the livestock and left British money, which the farmers couldn't use. The last part of this trilogy, of course, is the war between the states. And the famous Battle of the Two Ironsides took place outside Hampton Roads, roads being where waters come in and go out, a waterway of roads, as it were, although that's not actually the proper origin of the expression. And it was there that the blockade was most effective. The Southern cause was attempting to get their cotton to market in Europe and England to raise money, and the Federals were equally intent on not getting the cotton, not getting through, and on military and other provisions not getting into the southern states. As we now know, that the Federals prevailed, but it was a time of the first steam-powered naval action of wartime, because before that we did not really have that kind of steam-powered vessels. So I leave you with the trilogy of the Chesapeake Bay and its mixed history as a battleground. Thank you.